Followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just join us in a moment of silence. Amen. Thank you. All right, moving on to citizen concerns. Item number 3. All the citizens, please stand up. Moving on to approval of the agenda. I'll move that.
Second.
I'll go motion by Radig, second by Taylor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Items 5 through 10 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 5, approval of the minutes of the January 29th, 2019 meeting. Item 6, approval of claims. Item 7, board administration. Approval of notice of property sale resolution for parcel also known as 3001 13th Street for Tuesday, February 19th at 4:35 p.m. Moving on to 8, the county auditor. Receive county recorder's report of fees collected. Item 9, Human Resources. A, approval of memorandum of personnel transactions. B, authorization to initiate hiring process. 10, Board Administration approval of expenses for exploratory trip to Minneapolis, Minnesota in regards to sources of revenue for the LEC facility project. Any discussion on any of those items?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by DeWitt, second by Taylor to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 4-0. Or should I say 5? I don't know. We're going to count Marty as.
No.
All right. Item 11, reports on committee meetings. Looks like Jeremy's got a whole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to present on behalf of the USS Sioux City, Commander Shockey Snyder and local representative Chris McGowan, these two hand-drawn paintings for the board in appreciation of your support. One could probably go in the courthouse and one maybe out at Veteran Affairs. And there are coins for each of you in appreciation of your service and support of theirs. So I'll hand each one of these to you. If you want to hold that up.
I see. I was just talking about our lack of art in the place here.
Thanks, sir.
There you go, Jay.
There you go.
I'll let her zoom in on you.
This is for Marty.
Yeah, it is.
Do we have to receive that?
You can.
All right. I'll move to receive the artwork, etc.
Does Pat get a copy to scan into the archives of the coin, Pat?
All right.
All those in favor say aye to receive.
Aye.
All right, passes 4-0. And then any other committees?
Yes.
What's that?
Who was on the motion to receive?
I moved DeWitt second.
All right.
That was my fault. Taylor was done?
I just have represented the county today, or went to the Warrior ribbon cutting $73 million investment, and really excited about the developers. I think are excellent, and what they did in Davenport. I think the building inside was colder than outside, but I think it's going to be great. So,
I think I'm going to look at a resolution to find Fuji Bay a new location, though. That's my concern at this point. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. You must be hungry.
Well, is it another hour?
I attended ISAC's statewide supervisors meeting and took a few notes on upcoming legislation. First of all, I had a good talk with a much smaller county. Chickasaw County supervisor has the same problem with a jail problem that was built in the 1920s and was built for 7 to 8 people, and is about double that. So,
You got bunk beds.
yeah, just a few of them. There was discussion of changing EMS to an essential service. We've talked about that before. The counties are split on that. So ISAC's position is that to support legislation where each county would decide themselves whether or not it's going to be an essential service. There was discussion from the keynote, Jerry Foxhoven, obviously with DHS. He made some comments in general that the regionalization has, quote, worked remarkably well, and the child mental health system is the envy of the nation, that some metrics have improved. There was discussion amongst all of us about the timing of the MCO payments being dismal, especially with a third one coming online soon. He seemed to say there was language in the contracts to ensure timely payment. When the Iowa State Senate President Charles Snyder came up, he said there was not. So something's going on and we don't know what it is right now. There was discussion of the getting rid of the 20 to 25% reserve level. The Senate President mentioned that was a mistake and he would be shocked if it wasn't fixed. So that's good news. There was discussion of the backfill for property taxes. The governor's budget has it in for 2 more fiscal years, which is a good sign, but obviously her budget isn't necessarily the one that is passed. We heard the same thing from the Senate, that it's not something that will last into perpetuity, but that hopefully there will be a notification of at least 1, hopefully 2 fiscal years before they rip that out, possibly after we've set budgets. There was kind of a bizarre bill floated about the comp board that would draw from a hat the names of the comp board members being members of city councils and township trustees. So that's weird. That won't pass. Assessor retention vote is being floated every 4 years to be on the ballot for retention, which might not have as easy a chance of passing as judges. And then of interest to me was a prior ISAC objective, which is to update the outdated thresholds for forcing a repair issue to go to a bond vote. In Woodbury County, our population means that threshold is 1.2 million. If we're looking at scaffolding repairs on the county courthouse, we're looking at piecemealing a project, and that's not fiscally responsible when the scaffolding costs, for instance, could be half the project. So there's real world implications for counties and buildings of our size where HVAC repairs or structural repairs, not new construction, need to be done, and in a climate where bond votes may fail for projects like schools, something like a air conditioner repair isn't a done deal. So I'm working with the legislative team to get that on the agenda, if not this year, then next year, for something that would raise that, hopefully double it at least, give us some breathing room so that if we can pace out repairs up front to avoid repeated costs, or so we don't have things lasting past their useful life, which is what we have now. So there was unanimous consent, so to speak, for that. Other counties are dealing with major structural repairs, whether it be a clock tower or something more vital like HVAC themselves. So most county jails are past useful life as far as the guts of the buildings, and this is something that needs to be updated. So that's it.
All right. Rocky, you got anything? All right. Simcoe, we approved on the SEDS committee, the 5-year plan for economic development for the SEDS region. So that was just kind of a big deal as far as a lot of discussion. It was almost a 2-hour meeting. So, but that was a plan approved and moved forward, and that is really all I have. Any discussion or any questions from citizens? Round 2. board concerns, round one, Jeremy?
Yeah, I just, in response to, thank you very much Supervisor Ung on the update. My worry a little bit on the state level is the property tax relief and what that's going to look like, if that's actually going to be something that the state's going to provide, or if they're simply going to inhibit our ability to collect property taxes. Because the mantra, and I've heard it the last decade, is local governments need to live within their means too. But state government's grown from $6.2 to $7.3 billion over the last 10. And so that promise of we're going to backfill is now going away. And that would just be my admonition to our legislative counterparts. Same thing with the children's mental health system. You know, it's easy to mandate it without funding it. So those two things seem to be somewhat in conflict. So just my 2 cents for the day.
I thought it was kind of funny to see that was the envy of the world or envy of the nation when it's really just started.
Well,
maybe they're envious that we have it and they don't.
Yeah, the plan with that in children's mental health was to build it off of Medicaid reimbursed factors, you know, that they have experience, but there'll obviously be add-ons that don't follow that. So the contract language for the MCOs is a bureaucratic factor that needs to be addressed. There's no local control over that.
All right. You got any board concerns? Rocky? Okay, I'll move. We're adjourned.